Hey folks, Dan Rose here. I'm the product marketer at Showbie. With another school year quickly coming to an end, I can only imagine that you're getting ready to wind down for a well-earned summer break. And without dampening the mood too much there, I also know that as admins and leaders in your organization, you have a lot to come back to and manage in the fall. As your pedagogical partner, I want to make sure Showbie is one less thing you need to worry about. So I'm excited to give you our summer 2025 product update today. Our product team has been working on big improvements to the Showbie platform that will make it even easier for you to deliver the rich, personalized instruction, feedback, and assessments you need to engage every learner. So before you wrap up for the year, I want to give you an early look at some of the awesome new Showbie features that you, your educators, and your students can expect for the 2025 back-to-school season. As you can see on this slide above me here, we've got a lot to cover, so let's get right down into it. First up is assessments. We have some big news that's going to make it even easier for your educators and your organizations as a whole to make continuous assessment an even bigger part of your everyday teaching and learning workflow this year. We've collected a lot of feedback from school and trust leaders, digital leads, curriculum advisors, head teachers, IT teams, and frontline educators themselves. One of the most consistent pieces of feedback we hear is about the importance of having tools to consistently assess student learning, whether those are quick start activities, formal tracked retrieval processes, summative assessments, or more flexible minute-by-minute formative knowledge checks. Whatever the context, we know that seeing student learning in real time and having access to those granular performance insights are essential to progressing learning. At the same time, we've also heard how important it is to reduce the techflation on your devices and the constant need for context and app switching mid-lesson to maximize the limited time that your educators actually have to engage their learners. With that specific point in mind, we've also heard from a lot of you that the multi-account, multi-step setup involved with the Showbie Socrative integration left a lot to be desired and was creating unnecessary barriers for teachers to leverage the full potential of Socrative's quizzing features in Showbie. Meaning you're missing out on assessment at scale and the valuable analytics that those results can offer you and your team. So I'm excited to share that we're launching assessments in Showbie for this back-to-school season. Assessments is a new product offering, giving your educators easier, streamlined access to structured assessment, embedded all within the Showbie platform. Inspired by the essential assessment tools that educators already know and love, we've made assessment a more accessible and seamless part of your everyday pedagogical workflow. Right from that main menu, your educators can now access the familiar assessment tools they need to engage their learners, manage content, and track and share results in the moment. So let's take a closer look at what's new with assessments. So tapping on assessments from that main menu in Showbie, you're taken to your assessments library. If you've used Socrative before, you'll recognize a lot of the same structure and organization functionality here. You have your personal and shared libraries to create and manage a repository of assessment content, including the use of our 3 very popular AI-assisted features to speed up its creation. In this space, you can also collaborate with colleagues in your subject or year group, or access standardized assessment content provided by your organization. When your educators are ready to assess, launching assessment is now as easy as heading to that familiar plus icon to add an assessment directly to an assignment in Showbie, just like educators would add a resource or a worksheet or any other piece of teaching material today. The key here is no more multi-step quiz launch processes with Socrative and no more app switching. And it gets even better. Using the same workflow tools to add content to an assignment also means teachers will now be able to differentiate assessments to individuals or groups of students depending on their specific learning needs or attendance, for example. With assessment embedded right into the assignment workflow in Showbie, co-teachers providing coverage or with shared teaching responsibilities will now also be able to better manage assessments launched in an assignment, just like any other piece of work distributed, making it easier for them to, for example, start, stop, distribute results, and support the primary educators in a class. If you haven't guessed by now, the last improvement I want to call out here is great news for many of you, especially in secondary contexts. With assessments, you'll now be able to launch and run more than one assessment at a time in the same class, meaning teachers with multiple subjects in the same year group, or teachers who simply want to run a warm-up quiz and a formative or a pre-summative practice quiz and that end of unit lesson wrap-up can do so at the same time and all in the same class without having to rely on workarounds, other apps, or limiting their assessment practices to a single quiz at a time. Once your assessments are running, the magic of seeing those results trickle in looks the same as it does in Socrative, except it's all now in Showbie. You can view on a question-by-question basis, see results, individual student results, and monitor completion and responses as they come in. Teachers will have the familiar tools to instantly distribute assessment scores and reports to each student's assignment, to share progress and personalize next steps or feedback in Showbie. Consolidating and optimizing assessment workflows in Showbie is going to be a huge boost for your educators. With the opportunity to assess more consistently, more comprehensively, and continuously, not only are your educators going to have better access to more real-time learning progress insights, but that data will quickly scale up to you as admins through auditor accounts and in the admin analytics space. So to recap some of the awesome new benefits of assessments, as I said, you've now only got one consolidated platform to manage your entire engagement and classroom workflow. No more confusion around connecting rooms and classes, no more multi-step setup, multi-account management, and no more context switching. So your teachers will have more time for teaching and engaging learners. Another great benefit here is a more streamlined assessment workflow with more flexibility to run multiple assessments at the same time, to differentiate assessments, and to share management tasks with co-teachers more efficiently. Taken together, it's now going to be a lot easier to assess more and more deeply at scale across your entire organization, to harness actionable insights you need to support and progress teaching, and to monitor the effectiveness of your assessment strategy. Our team is doing a ton of work behind the scenes to pave the way for assessments and to make this rollout as seamless as possible for you and your teachers. And there's a few things I want to make sure we share with you on that front. First off, Socrative isn't going anywhere. It will still exist as it does as a standalone product where you can access historical quiz content and any reports and information you've generated up to date. It will be a distinct platform going forward, though. If you were using Socrative without the Showbie Socrative integration, then nothing is changing for your workflow. For those who have integrated their Showbie and Socrative accounts, we're retiring the integration because all of those essential tools will now be embedded directly into the Showbie platform. Whether you're a power user or you are only running a few quizzes via the integration, we know that you and your team have put a lot of time into building rich libraries and folder structures packed with teacher-approved and classroom-ready assessment content aligned to your pedagogical strategy and curriculum. No worries, we are bringing all that content over for you. Over the summer, we will be duplicating the library structures and content into Showbie assessments, so your teams can access those resources from day one of back to school without any disruption or loss of content. When your team comes back in the fall, their assessment content will be just as they left it, just accessible in assessments rather than via the old Showbie Socrative integration. Going forward, following the launch of assessments, libraries in Socrative and assessments in Showbie will be distinct. You'll want to advise your staff to ensure they create any new assessments they want to use in Showbie in the assessments workspace. That said, there will be cross-compatibility, so any quizzes that get created in the wrong library can still be easily imported into the appropriate library with codes. On a more technical level, part of the process of transitioning from the multi-platform integration to assessments means we'll be harmonizing your assessment data into your Showbie data region. For some of you, that will mean any US-based data on Socrative will now share the same data region as your Showbie environment. This harmonization will ensure that assessments align with Showbie's terms of service and privacy policy. A couple other housekeeping notes for you as admins. I'm just going to move myself over here for a second. To ensure a smooth and seamless duplication of Socrative library content and structures, you'll want to ensure that the emails used by teachers to connect their Socrative and Showbie platforms match. For those already integrated, the transition should be seamless, but if you have teachers using multiple emails to access their Showbie and Socrative accounts, you'll want to ensure they match prior to the content transition to avoid any potential disruption. We will be distributing a handy resource to help guide you on this if any email syncing is required, so stay tuned to your inboxes for some resources from us. Lastly, and quite timely for any end-of-year assessment housekeeping, as we transition from the Socrative integration, you'll want to make sure teachers have distributed scores and reports to students in Showbie from any recently completed assessments that may have been completed using the integration. Once we make this switch, any undistributed scores and reports won't be able to be shared into Showbie via the old integration. That said, those reports and any historical data generated to date will still be accessible to reference in Socrative. So, when is all this happening? While you and your educators are out for the summer, our team will be busy working away on duplicating the library content and structures from Socrative into Showbie assessments. We anticipate the planned migration taking about a month to complete between July 22nd and August 22nd. And we've slotted this migration period over the summer break to ensure as minimal disruption as possible and so that assessments can be turnkey for your educators when they return to class at the end of the summer. Assessments has been a big lift, and we expect a few additional bits of functionality to follow after the initial launch, namely some fine-tuning on report export options that you may be familiar with in Socrative, as well as some work refining the codes used to import and export assessment content. We'll keep you apprised as we continue to refine assessments features into the school year. So that's assessments. It's one of the most exciting improvements we've made to the Showbie platform in a while, and it's one that we've designed and built directly based on your feedback. To that end, I would love to throw some shout outs to our partners at Bowhunt, Arthur Terry Learning Partnership, the Affinity Learning Partnership, Oak Academy Trust, Unity Schools Partnership, and Woodland Academy Trust, among many others who generously shared a lot of really valuable feedback with our team as we scoped out what this initial assessments offering would look like. In addition to the workflow and pedagogical improvements for educators and school leaders, we're excited about the foundation that assessments will provide for deeper insights that we'll be able to offer via the admin analytics platform, as well as the groundwork this will lay for innovative AI developments to support things like content creation and targeting feedback for every learner. I'll put myself back over here. There we go. Okay. Next up, some platform polishing. So next up, we have some naming and user interface updates, modernizing parts of the platform to better reflect the ways your educators refer to and use these features and how Showbie fits into classroom workflows. First up, groups. Historically, this feature has been positioned as an extension of your Showbie class, but we've heard that the groups feature was being used more broadly than we initially expected for things like communication channels with family, staff groups for training and collaboration, and school-wide extracurricular activities. To reflect how groups are actually used every day in your school, we are relabeling this feature as communities. Now, to be clear, there's no additional functionality being added, and groups are still managed in the same way that they are today, but the name now better aligns with how the feature is viewed and used within the platform. Next up, gradebook. We've also heard that there's been some confusion around what the assignment overview was and what it was for, and that was limiting engagement with the feature. Based on that feedback, we're relabeling the overview feature to gradebook. Many of you are, of course, already referring to this feature with this name and using this feature as your digital record book to track and manage and view all your feedback, assessment results, marking, and grading. With this small naming tweak, we're confident that educators will better match how the feature is used and boost engagement as that one-stop spot to track learning progress in the classroom. Third up is a bit of overdue housekeeping in the Showbie platform. Today, we have a label in an assignment where content is posted as the shared items list. While shared items is a clear and literal description of the space, we recognized it was outdated technical terminology that didn't necessarily reflect how teachers talk about the resources they share. So we're switching shared items out and materials in. We feel this small label change will better reflect the digital classroom space and the language that teachers use to describe the resources they share with learners. Again, no changes in the way you share materials, just a new name that more closely aligns with teacher-friendly language. The next one up is a UI change to a common icon in the platform. Since the beginning of Showbie, we've used a wrench icon, or spanner for those of you in the UK, as the go-to icon directing you to the settings for the class list, assignment, and group spaces within the platform. While the wrench was cute, it no longer aligns with commonly recognized design patterns for digital applications and accessibility standards. As such, we're updating that settings icon across the platform for a more standard icon consisting of an ellipsis in a small circle. That icon will replace the wrench going forward. Again, no changes to the settings in any of those spaces, just the icon update. In sum, these are some small changes that we don't expect to disrupt any workflows and should better align with the ways your team already talk about and use the platform in class every day. Our support articles will be updated to reflect these changes. If you have any documentation or training materials, you may want to make some updates for consistency when onboarding and training new staff. Okay, so with that housekeeping out of the way, I'm excited to share 2 new improvements that will speed up and clean up the way you mark student activities and track learning progress. We've heard that the gradebook can sometimes be overwhelming. Because every assignment is displayed in the gradebook, even those low-stakes tasks or practice assessments that may not be marked or tracked appear there. And the table view can quickly get bogged down with lots of empty columns of assignments that haven't been marked and don't need to be marked in the first place. At the same time, key tasks you need to track can get buried between low-stakes or more open-ended activities, making it hard to quickly find and analyze the most important results in context and over time. In short, the gradebook simply shows too much sometimes, and when everything is important, nothing is important. So we're adding a new toggle option to the assignment settings that will allow you to select whether or not you want that task to be included in the gradebook. Toggle on for important work you need to track, mark, and grade. Toggle off for low stakes, open-ended, and things like practice activities that don't need to appear in the gradebook. With added flexibility, your educators will be able to keep the gradebook cleaner and more organized by displaying only the most important assignments, homework, and assessments, and making it easier to manage all your tracking, analysis, and reporting of learning outcomes all from the gradebook. Next up is another marking feature that a lot of educators have been asking for to support assignment management at scale. Now, we know not all assignments are created equally, and while not all of them need to be included in the gradebook, we also know that many teachers still need to track student participation, engagement, and completion of even those lower stakes activities to guide when and how they proceed in their teaching. Sometimes that's as simple as a tick on a document or an emoji, or educators might select from the options in the assignment status field to simply identify when a task is complete. In any event, that process can be manual, repetitive, and time-consuming, which for those low-stakes tasks is a lot of time and effort for little value that could be better directed to supporting learners or other prep. So building on the assignment status indicators we introduced last fall, you can now mark all as done with one tap, making quicker work of assignment tracking and management. Instead of marking each individual student's work as done one by one, you'll now be able to mark them all as done in bulk. Whatever the task, with this new feature, educators will be able to speed up that high-effort, low-impact assignment administration, keep their gradebook up to date to track work more efficiently, and more clearly indicate when and where learning is progressing. Bonus, as admins, or for those with quality assurance, moderation, or oversight roles, better tracking of assignment completion should also mean better insight into how teachers are engaging and advancing their teaching, and at what pace. Keeping on that admin angle, I have a few updates to share specifically for you folks. I'm going to move myself over here again. Hide in the corner. Something digital leaders, IT leads, and school admins have all been asking for is a bit more control over how Showbie accounts are created and managed. With smoother onboarding and increased security in mind, we will be removing the ability for individual teachers to sign themselves up for a new Showbie account. Presently, anyone can create a new Showbie account from the platform login screen. And while association to schools is already securely managed by admins, we have heard that the ability to create new accounts can cause confusion as teachers sometimes skip onboarding steps, creating headaches for IT and messy data that needs to be cleaned up. So we're removing only the teacher self-sign-up option this back-to-school season. Account creation and approval flows for students and parents remain the same. Going forward, teacher accounts will only be created using the teacher invite flow managed by a school admin, by MIS integration, or by white glove support from our team during onboarding and setup. This will enable smoother onboarding, ensure all your teacher accounts are verified and associated correctly, and improve security and account management for you. Next up, I'm very happy to report that our school team is making some great progress onboarding the first cohort of early adopters for phase 1 of our new MIS integration. We've partnered with Wand to facilitate the integration of data between your MIS or SIS platforms and Showbie. For this back-to-school season, we're expecting to have early adopters onboarded to automate and streamline new account creation, as well as tools to update usernames and account deactivation. If your school or trust is already part of this first cohort, fantastic. We're thrilled to make your back-to-school season a little less stressful with easier account creation and syncing. If you haven't yet signed up for access to our MIS integration, please get in touch with our team via your account manager to learn more about the process and to join the next cohort of early adopters. Looking ahead to phase 2, we'll be introducing class creation and rostering, so stay tuned for more updates on this initiative. Along those lines, but specifically for our Norwegian partners, I'm also happy to share that we're introducing some improvements to the way Showbie connects with FIDA to make it easier to securely onboard new accounts faster and at scale. Our FIDA improvements are all behind the scenes, but will really optimize your account management and spare admins some tech headaches at the start of the year. Starting this fall, new users tapping Sign In with FIDA will automatically have a Showbie account created for them and associated with their school. For those who already have a Showbie account, choosing Sign In with FIDA will automatically update their account information and confirm their school association. This improvement means no more spreadsheets from IT to create and update new accounts, improved security tied to FIDA credentials, and means all your teachers will be in the right place from day one so they can get straight down to teaching. Last but not least, I want to take a moment to update you on a few of the awesome features we introduced this past spring. If you missed this update, you can find our spring product update on our YouTube page or probably buried in an email from me in your inbox. Since releasing the redesigned portfolio, we've made some additional improvements, making it easier for teachers, students, and parents to find, navigate, and export key highlights in the portfolio. In addition to the modernized design and layout, grouping options, and filters, you can now export the entire portfolio and specific folder groupings in bulk, making much quicker and easier work of what was previously a very manual and individual task. The export feature also includes additional options to select feedback and any instructions that were provided to give you a much more complete record of the work. We've also introduced a subtle new pop-up to make it clear when items have been added to the portfolio, and a new menu adding additional context and quick access to the portfolio from the assignment space. In addition to the portfolio feature we added, I'm also happy to share that we will be migrating all of the new features in our Showbie Labs space into the iOS app in the fall of 2025. If you haven't seen those features yet, or you haven't explored Showbie Labs, in our spring update, we introduced a new calendar, voice note transcripts and playback speed, the opportunity to pin classes, and added link previews. All of these exist currently in the Showbie Labs feature, but during the fall of 2025, we will be moving those fully into the iOS app for all teachers to make use of this coming school year. So, what's next? Well, first off, for you, go enjoy a well-earned holiday. While you are away, our team will be busy, as I said, as we transition the old Showbie Socrative integration over to Showbie assessments. We will, of course, have our usual back-to-school communications campaign, providing you and your team with additional support resources, launch communications, and resources to ensure that all of the new features I've talked about today will be easy to find, understand, and use so your team can hit the ground running in the fall. Look forward to a larger feature launch effort from us at the end of August 2025 here. And of course, we are keen to support you with ongoing product education. Our AM team will always be accessible and available to support you, as well as our learning specialist team. If you have any questions about anything that we've shared here today, or just general questions about how to put Showbie to work to support teaching and learning this year. So that's it, folks. As you can see, we have a lot on the go and a busy summer ahead of us to get these new features ready for you and your teams this back-to-school season. If you have any questions or concerns about anything I've shared here today, please feel free to reach out to our team. As I said, we will be sharing more training and support resources in the coming weeks and months as we progress towards launching these features for back to school. Until that time, I hope you have a smooth wrap-up, a smooth end of year, and enjoy some well-earned time off. Thanks again for making Showbie your trusted pedagogical partner, and I look forward to chatting again with you soon. Thanks, folks.